President Cyril Ramaphosa has recognized Misuzulu kaZwelithini as the king of the AmaZulu nation. In a statement, Ramaphosa says this follows consultation with the Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs and the Premier of KwaZulu-Natal. For more on this, we now speak to His Royal Highness Prince Africa Zulu of Onkweni, the spokesperson for King Misuzulu's kaZwelithini. Prince, a very good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us, and a warm welcome to the agenda.
No, good morning, everyone there on the studio. Thank you.
Indeed. First of all, what's the significance of the recognition of King Misuzulu kaZwelithini by President Cyril Ramaphosa as the new AmaZulu monarch?
You remember that when this whole thing started, we knew that His Majesty King Misuzulu had to assume the throne. So as soon as that had taken place, when his name was announced, a lot of noise came around the family because they felt that they're their own candidate. So since then, there were those kind of squabbles within the family, up to a point where the issue then was then taken to court. And then when the issue was taken to court, the president was also interdicted together with the Premier of KwaZulu-Natal by the faction who wanted their own candidate in the throne, which is against the Zulu tradition because it's not a democratic process. Because I understand we've been so long dwelling on a democracy zone that we think that customary law should take place in accordance with democratic rights and laws, and which is not the case. So now this is a major victory, for the customary law and for the restoration of peace and for the stability in the Republic of South Africa and in the province of KwaZulu-Natal. And we know that it's going to take some time for this endorsement of the president, or the presidency, to sink on people's heads who are held and to fight His Majesty solely because they grew up with him and they're still struggling to realize that the prince is now a lion.
Now, Prince Africa, reportedly Prince Misuzulu, the brother of the late AmaZulu King kaZwelithini, has now announced that he does not accept the decision by President Ramaphosa to recognize King Misuzulu kaZwelithini as the new monarch. So what's your take on that? We do understand, of course, that disputes are normal when it comes to the appointment of the king. So what do you think fuels the resistance from some quarters within the royal family, as you are quite satisfied and convinced that it was cast in stone that Prince Misuzulu is the next king?
First and foremost, people of KwaZulu-Natal in South Africa and the whole of Africans within our continent, they must understand that Prince Mbonisi has no authority that he claims to have. So this means that he is not relevant in this process of the coronation of the king or who become king. What has happened, as far as I know, Prince Mbonisi is a deputy director, I think, in some department in KwaZulu-Natal, department of the Premier. He works there. I don't know how he jumped from being a deputy director to become a kingmaker. The tradition and the custom does not allow for people to come and emerge as kingmakers. I think he's trying to seize an opportunity to control or to create an impression that he has some influence, since he is one of the half-brothers of His Majesty. One of his half-brothers of His Majesty. So he alone, I don't know how he has found a way to assume this authority, but I know that a lot of media campaign was used in the process to try and fight with His Majesty, because let me tell you, His Majesty is a very quiet man. He's a very, very down-to-earth guy, and they know this thing. So all this was done to capitalize on his personal personality, which is very calm, very down-to-earth, very humble. He is almost a similar personality of his uncle, the King of Swaziland, King Misuzulu. Very, very calm people. So people like that, they are always attacked easily by certain opportunities. So it's just a matter of people looking to drive the agenda and create some unnecessary instability around the royal family, so that at the end of the day, there is some deal that is done, and say maybe, okay, what do you want? Maybe we give you this. Would you want this as a part of the settlement? And quite honestly, there is just no role of Prince Mbonisi. We have His Royal Highness, the Prime Minister Mangosuthu Buthelezi, whom by Zulu customary law is the one who's supposed to guide the process. That's one of the key duties of the Prime Minister, to guide us during these trying times. So the public should not be fooled by President Mbonisi not accepting the decision. You will wonder who's advising them, because if you think about it, you can't go against the law. If you're now saying that now judges are wrong, it means that you are the only one now in this land that is right. And where are they, which university are they really prescribing all these things from? Because it seems like it's quite beyond our control and their control, what they are faced with. But we are praying for this stability. We are praying for the common sense. We are praying for that. They learn to accept now, because now what is nice is that he's no longer fighting the king. He's now fighting the president. He's fighting the people of South Africa. He's fighting the ruling government. He's fighting the laws that make this country what it is and prosper. So he's posing a major threat in the stability of the country. And I think judges and lawmakers should be quite concerned, because the matter is no longer in the king's hand. It is now in the republic and your hands as the people of South Africa.
Now, do you foresee a disruption in the coronation plans as a result of Prince Misuzulu's refusal to accept, the recognition by President Cyril Ramaphosa? And should he decide to take the legal route? And you and I know that court cases can drag on for days, weeks, even, and possibly months.
There is absolutely no distraction or no threat whatsoever. Whether they use media campaigns or they use invisible forces to come and create a distraction. The truth is that King Misuzulu is the most popular king in KwaZulu. And he is a reincarnation of King Cetshwayo. His power supersedes even kings before him. So I can't imagine how a great king like him can really be, his coronation of such a great lion, be, this thing is even becoming like a lion king. You remember Uncle Scar? Uncle Scar, who was a brother of the king, he wanted the throne. It's the same thing. Yeah. Everyone who's just around the throne, they always want to capitalize. But he stands no chance, and the government is behind this coronation. The committee that will be part of the coronation is a joint committee between the royal family and the government. And now that the Premier of KwaZulu-Natal interdict is no longer in place, he's now free to make sure that there is full security and safety for His Majesty's people and for His Majesty's program of coronation, which urgently has to take place really soon.
I quite like that analogy of the Lion King. Now, Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi has played a very prominent role in the transition of the monarchy since the passing of King Goodwill-Zwelithini a year ago. Will he continue with this role as soon as King Misuzulu assumes the throne officially?
As a royal family, we still feel like His Royal Highness Prince Mangosuthu, the Prime Minister, is still feel to perform his roles, because with his experience, his roles are no longer that physical. If you think about how he was able to sit down with the lawyers and put together, pairs of argument that also were part of the victory for the High Court, that answers your question that the man is still very fit, and the Zulus should not panic. And in the royal family, people serve until their eyes are closed. It's not like in politics where people say, hey, now you must step aside, now you're too old. The Prime Minister is not yet there. He's still very fit. He's still waking up and do a treadmill. He's as fit as your grandfather will be. So he's quite ready and quite strong to perform the task of the Zulu nation, and also give and become the second powerful man in the kingdom, as he is as we speak. So there should not be any speculation about his capabilities or his health. I can assure the world that the man is still fit and he's proven himself alone. If you're looking at him, President Bonisi, this was almost like a legal boxing match where he knocked him out, knock him out. And whether they are called there to appeal in South Africa, there is always many ways to waste money. Courts are made for people who also want to waste more of their money. If you keep on appealing where the judges are telling you, you've been defeated, they're throwing a white towel, say, hey, just move away from the ring. We have a lion. Yeah.
So when will the coronation of King Misuzulu kaZwelithini take place? Has the royal family decided on the date as yet?
The president announced, I think, around the 16th. And then only yesterday, this thing the decision has been gazetted on the National Gazette. So now it is now in the hands of the Prime Minister to sit down with His Majesty, and then they establish a suitable day to call the entire royal family, including the factions, because this king is not the king of the faction, he's the king of the entire royal family. The whole family will be invited, where now there will be a committee that must be recommended or appointed to deal with the matter of His Majesty. So once that committee is then put in place, then that committee will liaise with the government committee in coordinating the coronation. And then as soon as that happens, which should happen in a space of less than 40 days from now, we should be able to have the coronation taking place, because the king has to start his responsibilities. The challenge is so much facing the Zulu people, in Zululand with Ngoyama Trust, institutions such as Ngoyama Trust that are in Tatars, and the Royal Trust, which also Prince Mbonisi is working, is also serving in the board. So all those things, this weapon, he needs to come out of the board, and the king needs to put his men there who will serve the people and not try to distract the stability of the Zulu nation. So we should be very hopeful that in a space of less than 40, 60 days, we should be seeing the coronation. And the coronation is not the main thing now. His Majesty's mind is not on the coronation. His Majesty's mind is on the people of KwaZulu-Natal in the rural areas who are living below R1 a day, how he can work with government to drive a better agenda for them, for the entire kingdom, so that we could see prosperity, we could see a middle class growing, and more people and more stability within the kingdom.
What are some of the pertinent issues that the king will tackle as soon as he officially assumes the throne? I mean, you've mentioned the contentious Ingwenyama Trust as one of them. I mean, what are some of the bread and butter issues that he will deal with for the benefit of the Zulu people?
One of the key issues that are in His Majesty's heart is the education. A lot of our young people, students in particular, who are studying and have passed very well. You'll be very surprised that we still have no fund for the Zulu nation to make sure that there is a tuition fees available for those people who are supposed to be waiting for NSFAS and all those things. And our people have have joined the diaspora. They are all over the continent and they are struggling, yet they are performing so well. The agenda, the educational agenda, to put an agenda for education, a credible plan for the Zulu nation and for the entire Zulu people, student, because the future of His Majesty is in his peers, the young people who are still to grow, who are the future and the hope for our nation. So His Majesty's mind and heart as a young king is set on growth, prosperity, and also cooperation, building better cooperation with government. You remember this internet created a lot of confusion, where people even blame the president and they blame the premier because they had forgotten that when the king got sued, also the president was sued in the process, the Prime Minister was sued, the Premier of KwaZulu-Natal was sued. So now that everything, has been given green light, the King will now be able to sit down and put together the right formidable force or structure that will be able to start dealing with the issues that are affecting Zululand beyond education, water problems in the rural, sanitation issues, all those things, lack of town planning capacity in the rural areas where the storages are now overlapping and then, to the rivers around, which is a major threat, a major threat to the health of the people of KwaZulu-Natal. The truth is that the issues are so many and they are so vast, as the kingdom is vast, but they require a true cooperation between His Majesty and his government. And he's shown, the Premier has availed himself, and we like the cooperation that we're going to be seeing between him and working through the King's Prime Minister and the King, building a better society that South Africa will be proud of under the Republic of South Africa, Kingdom. Yeah.
All right, Prince Africa Zulu, great chatting to you. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you very much, and thank you to the viewers at home around the country. Thank you.
Indeed, thank you. That was a King Misuzulu, kaZwelithini spokesperson, His Royal Highness Prince Africa Zulu of Onkweni, and we're still trying to track down Prince Misuzulu, who is opposed to the coronation, and as well as that announcement of recognition of King Misuzulu's kingship by President Cyril Ramaphosa. As soon as we have him up, we'll definitely be in conversation with him. So please stay tuned to the agenda.